just connect with the self as the consciousness. Thank you. So, just before we go into what I had in mind, I just wanted to check whether what we looked at last time, the mind, intellect, sanskars, and the difference in the two energies, whether there was anything you wanted to clarify or anything that you wanted to develop further, or whether it made sense to you, whether you could relate to it, to how you work inside. Is there anything? That drew anything that drew your attention particularly, that maybe struck something in your mind that okay, or not so
Hi,
sure.
Radha. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sahil. Yeah.
Just more a question out of kind of academic interest more than anything else. Obviously, we spoke about the subconscious and where we end up having all the emotions kind of coming out of there because of the past. Just again, academic interest, does that mean, or do we feel that the past lives have also imprinted certain emotions, habits, behavioral patterns in the subconscious mind? I understand that, the more conscious we are, we should be able to break out of some of those, at least the bad habits, or the ones that kind of hold us back. But again, just question is, would you think that past lives would also have those imprints continue into the next births?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I feel that or as far as I understand, basically the sanskars, which is what was called the subconscious mind, contains, shall we say, the three kinds of sanskars, three kinds of impressions, and one is very definitely those that we have generated and created, or that have been formed, shall we say, from our previous births. So it's like a carry forward. Then one category is what we create now, because of family. I would call our original sanskars. So it's like the thread that goes through every birth, which will, in a sense, is your original self, your original personality rather, which represents your original self. So the original sanskars would be, the sanskars of this just love, for example, is one of the original qualities of the soul, but how it's manifest in our personality, all the various forms of love, but there will be that recognition of true love, of pure unconditional love. And so in a sense, that sanskar, that impression of knowing what it is, needing it, expressing it, sharing it in one form or another, will be there in every birth. And very often it's very much buried deep down. And so especially at the moment, the original sanskars are really eroded a lot, or covered by the layers of all the more recent, and the heavier sanskars of which are formed because of the consciousness of the body. And so the original ones, which are much, much more subtle, um, and are expressed in the form of, like through virtues and through qualities, but through our interactions and through our vibrations. And so, so yes, it's really everything that we carry forward from previous births is recorded in there. It's like a disc, a CD that it's been etched in. And actually, if you think about the old LP discs, the big ones, wherever the needle is put, that's what plays. So all the rest of the etching is still there. It's not like it's been, erased, but it's just not playing at the moment because the needle is not on that moment. So the needle represents this present moment. And so it's, yeah.
No, thank you. That just makes it pretty clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, so I mean, basically, what we looked at last time was just to give a little bit more of a idea and clarity in terms of what's really going on. How do we work inside as a spiritual being? And of course, all of this is invisible. You can't see any of this. What's going on? The only thing you can see is the body, the physical body. And so and the expressions, through the eyes, on the face. And it's only because we are spiritual beings that we can perceive the vibrations of another person, so which are all invisible. And so soul consciousness is about being able to get in tune and to be able to give value to that which is invisible. So, for example, our thoughts. Often we say, no, it's more important your actions or what you say, what the actual practical proof of something is. But actually, the quality of your actions is dependent on the quality of your thoughts. And so it's even more important to give value to our thoughts. So what I thought we could do actually is move on to another subject today, and then we can always come back to all this area of the mind and the intellect and thoughts and consciousness and so on. But
I think Mrs. Mehra wanted to ask something.
Yes, please, Sushma ji.
Yeah, madam, you wanted to say something. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me, Radha?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Radha,
please.
my question, what I understood that day when I heard your lecture, it was that if the good vasanas stay with us, so do the dark ones. The other ones are also there. They are latent, but they are there. So we need not despair that the good vasanas come into action. The thoughts get translated into action. But the black ones can also emerge sometime. And not to be worried about that, because those things will also remain in the mind. Am I right in my understanding?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the thing, is that we need to accept all of ourselves, in the sense of our whole story and our whole record. So we don't want to cut off the etching that we say, oh no, this is a bad sanskar, so I want to chop it off and throw it away.
Yes.
So actually we all, and in fact we need to know the sanskars that are the sanskars which could be potentially very harmful. So I prefer to avoid the word bad, because that, what's bad, what's good, I mean, whoever's in authority will decide what's good and what's bad, but what's truly good and what's truly bad may be something else. And so I find it's more useful to say that the sanskars that I may have that are harmful, I need to know what they are, and I need to know the extent of the harm that they could do, but I am more powerful. And that's what a Rajyogi is that a Rajyogi has the ability to be a master of their own
Excuse
sanskars.
me.
So the mind, the intellect, and the sanskars, bless you. And so I think it's very important to acknowledge whenever, for example, if I have the sanskar of anger, which may come in the form of just a little bit of irritation or a bit of, wanting to, give someone, tell someone what I think about them, or take revenge, or, these are sanskars that can be potentially very, very damaging for the self and for others. And so I need to know that I have these sanskars and not be afraid of them, not suppress them, not punish myself for them, but learn how to be stronger, to be more powerful than they are. So not to be a slave of those sanskars.
Thank you. You've really answered my question to perfection. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay, so it's these are all interesting subjects, and I'm sure, as we go along, more and more things will be clarified, and we can always come back to this topic. So what I thought we could just look at very briefly, just to get an idea and an experience more than anything else, is the understanding a little bit of our context. So because we are spiritual, invisible, intangible beings, so actually this earth, this physical environment, is not our original environment, is not our home, is not where we come from. So, they talk about aliens. So actually, we are those aliens. We come from another dimension. And we have these space suits, which is this body. So we're all in these space suits, and we find ways to communicate with each other, and all sorts of very highly refined ways to live and through with our space suits, and and actually enjoy life in this planet, on this planet. And however, the very strange thing is that we aliens have forgotten that where we've come from, and that in fact this earth is not really our home. And it's been our home, and we love it, and now we want to take care of it, we want to respect it, we want to bring it back to its original pristine condition. But of course, the problem is that we've become very grounded, in the sense attached to the stimuli that we get through our physical costume, through our space suit. So much so that we've forgotten, actually, who am I inside this space suit? And where do I come from? Where do I belong to? And so I just want to suggest this idea, which may be familiar to you, but you might be familiar with it in a religious way, or I'm not sure what way, but just to look at it maybe with completely new eyes. So I'm going to show you a picture now. Let's see if I can share my screen. Okay. So do you see this picture? Yes? Yeah, okay. Anyone just
Yes.
give me an indication that you can see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so basically you see here the earth, and then something that would be space, I guess. And then you see another, something that looks like it could be the sun, but actually it's not the sun, because the sun belongs to the physical dimension, the physical earth. And it's like the lights of the stage, you know? So, but beyond, if you think of this word beyond, you know, not above, not below, because that's also, you know, below. You say, well, Australia's below, you know, or at least from this part of the world. Not sure what's below from India, but anyway, maybe South America or something like that. But actually, this word beyond, you know, if you think of this word and think of, just think of like this present moment. If you say, I want to go beyond this present moment in time, and I want to go into my childhood, you know, that maybe I remember that first day when I set foot in Sanawar, you know, or some really nice moment, you know, the first hikes that I went on, and just remember seeing the, you know, the scenery and the hill, the mountains, and maybe as you were walking as the groups, the kind of accommodation, you know, where you were sleeping. Think of the dormitories you had, and the games that you used to play. Let's just think of all of that, and now coming back here in this present moment, here we are many years later, with bodies that have grown all those years. You know, we don't have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old bodies anymore. And so, however, what was it that went beyond? You know, that I was able to, so I, meaning I, the spiritual being, I, the soul, was able to take my mind. So I, the consciousness, used my mind to go beyond this current moment and experience. So, and see again, and maybe experience. And if it was a strong moment, you know, depending on the original experience all those years ago, maybe it would re-emerge again. And so it's like I went beyond this current moment and I went back in time. You know? So I am not limited to, I'm not limited by time or space. So we all, most of us, I think, live quite far away from Sana, you know, from the school or from wherever you know, maybe you went to some another school. But after that or before that, but we were able to travel there, you know, so easily. So we are able to go beyond time and space at will, without closing our eyes, without going into some dhyan or trance or anything, just at a moment's suggestion. Now, if we did that a little bit longer, we could go into a whole experience. You know, you could smell the pine needles, feel them crushing under your feet as you walk along, the warmth of the sun, you know, just a little thing. And it's so easy to be transported. So this is what we can do also with this whole question of taking our mind beyond the physical dimension of the earth, our context, how the world is now, how the economy is, what the governments, what, you know, the whole thing, basically, the whole package, the environment, everything It's like going beyond the play, going beyond the drama, and the dimension that you see as this like orange, red, yellow, golden, you can call it golden red, is what we call the the home of souls. So this is what we call the home of peace, or the dimension of silence. Sometimes the word that I like a lot is Shanti Dham, you know. So the dimension of peace, the dimension of silence. And this is a place, for want of a better word, that we can experience and we can go in our meditation. You know. And actually, if you ask anyone in the whole world what they want the most, you know, they will tell you probably three things, and one of them will be peace. You know. So they may say happiness, they may say love, they may say health, they may say wealth, but one of them is most likely to be peace. I want peace. You know. And why is it? Because in fact, that is what we're made of, but that is also where we come from. You know. So it's like our roots, our original, eternal place of origin is what we can call the soul world, you know, the home of peace. And so I find this particular piece of information as very, very useful to, at any moment that I want during the day or at any particular time, to just travel beyond. And we don't have to, you don't have to take a long time to do this. Just like we traveled to our school in an instant, really. And we're able to visualize things, see things, maybe even smell the pine needles, you know. and and very easily take our consciousness beyond. So in the same way, we can, because it's something that is deep within us, it's something that maybe is asleep, and it's one of those things that is within our consciousness. Maybe it's within our unconscious or within our subconscious, but we can re-emerge it, and it's very useful to be able to do that. And so, just very simply, pieces of information is that this dimension of peace is a dimension of pure light. So, absolute silence, absolute peace, where there is not even the movement of thought. So, the souls are present in this dimension as, you know, if you think of just these little seeds floating in an ocean of light. You know. So it's as if the soul is at rest in complete peace. You know. This is remembered in a number of different religions and cultures. You know, as some people call it nirvana, some people call it, you know, mukti or moksha, whatever. But, you know, just to see this apart from whatever it's been called and all the different associations that each of those words may have. But if you just see, just for the moment, for the purpose of understanding the way that we study this here within the Brahma Kumaris, is to see that as my home. You know, so it's not something impersonal. It is that place, that space where I am who I am originally and eternally. I don't have to be anything, I don't have to do anything, and my whole essence is merged within me as the seed. You know? So that is how I am before anything ever happened and after everything was concluded. No? So it's that very beautiful, complete, complete state in the sense, that state of being 100%, before the battery begins to be used and after it's been fully recharged. So, so as we practice our meditation together, um, what I thought we could do is just to go into that experience of going home, and seeing just how we can experience, because we have physical bodies, so we are able to experience what it's like to be there. When we are actually there, we don't experience anything because there is no thought. But right now, because we are not there, but we can take our consciousness there while still having a body and, physically where the body is alive and, we are present and our eyes are open and we are completely conscious. But we can touch base with our home and fill ourselves with that original peace. And the purpose of this is to reawaken that original peace within us here and now in this physical dimension. So I can draw that energy from my home and re-emerge that within me and bring that into my life, so that actually I continue to connect with who I am originally and deeply. And what it helps us with is basically to be able to very quickly detach ourselves from the situations, from the upheavals, from the chaos or the confusion or the games, all the ups and downs and ins and outs that happen. That just for a moment, I touch base, I go home, and I come back refreshed and maybe much more capable of dealing with a situation with coolness, with clarity. And so this is the usefulness of this. So does that make sense to you? Do you feel like experiencing and exploring that dimension? No. Does it feel something like you'd like to do?
So just a small question, Radha, can you hear me?
Yes.
So this place that you referred to as a home, and on what we meditate and we kind of go there, this is like a temporary reprieve, or are you
Yes.
supposed to go there and come back, or is it, how do you
Yes,
relate? I
yes.
can't relate.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, if we were to go there and stay there, that would involve leaving our bodies, so we don't want to do that, not yet anyway, and but what we do want to do is to take the benefit of an experience. Exactly. It's a little bit like.
So sorry.
Yes.
So my next question is that, when we do leave the space suit and are we there for a temporary period before we find another space suit?
So you mean when we actually leave the body?
Yes.
Yes. So that's a whole other subject, which maybe we will get to, but usually we just stay around in this physical dimension, and we don't go very far, even though we come out of this spacesuit. But we find another one pretty quickly because we've got a lot to do, because our karma is such that we cannot go home definitely, until all our karma has been settled.
Oh, that's
And
a
so
whole different subject. Yes.
it is. It is. Yes. But anyway, what our aim now is not to leave our body. We don't want to do that yet, no. But what we do want to do is to, and this is why it's very important, eyes are open, we're fully present, we're not going into any kind of trance. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do trances, but the experience can be very, very deep and profound and enriching. So, Aman, did you want to say something?
Yeah, the topic that you've touched on today obviously opens up, a whole Pandora box of, things. But I think I just wanted to ask. So, the assumption is that we are not at peace. That we want to go here to, what you're referring to as home, to find that peace. Or alternatively, I am at peace, and it's just more of an inquisitiveness to go and see what this is all about. So is it that there's an assumption that underlying assumption that everybody sitting here in this, in the reference of this time and this dimension is actually not at peace?
Well, I think it's not that difficult to come to that conclusion. Yes. If I think about myself and the amount of peace I might experience, yes, maybe because of the meditation, I have a lot of help for that. But otherwise, I just think about if I didn't have this meditation, and maybe other people have other things, the amount of fear, anxiety, anger, peacelessness, uncertainty, it's pretty rife, eh? So to some extent or another, there's quite a bit of peacelessness. And maybe some people have easier access to states of consciousness where they're able to be peaceful, and other people less so. However, I think that the purpose of this journey, shall we say, is a number of things. One is to practice being the master of our senses and our mind. So, to be able to go beyond the pull of gravity that is there through our physical senses. So, I'm able to have my eyes open and yet take my consciousness beyond this physical dimension. If someone were to call me or knock on the door, I would be able to instantly answer. So it's not like I've gone off somewhere. That's an important thing.
Right.
The other purpose is to refresh my experience of peace, and to bring it to life again.
Right. No, I think this is, like I said, it's something that one needs to, but I think I understand. For me, what makes a lot of sense is what you just said, is that, it's the control. In fact, just relating it to the discussion we had last time, I think one of the things which kind of was a reminder to me is to slow down a little bit. Don't run through your thoughts so fast, and not only slow down, but take some time to just let the answers come, as opposed to trying to find the answer. And then, so that gives me control on my intellect, on my mind. As a result, also maybe, is a journey towards this. But the essence of sometimes, thinking about that as home, when you are kind of coming round and round back into this because of karma, and eventually that is where you're going to get to. It just has, so many dimensions. But yes, I think I relate to the fact that, there is the fact that we must have control on ourselves, and that,
Yes.
in a way, is peaceful.
Yes. Yes, I mean, I see, I'm not sure if this is the thing behind what you're saying, but I guess, thinking about the home does give a little bit of that sense of the end of things, that it's
Right.
like, death, or that's what happens once you die. But actually, eventually, yes, that's where we go, and great, thank goodness for that it's not a question of hell and heaven and all sorts of things like that. But the purpose of this is, one, just to have, for me, this is what I'm saying, is that the information is that this physical dimension is not everything. That's one
Mhm.
thing. That there is a beyond, and that beyond consists of my home. And it's important to have very clear where I come from, because that gives me my identity.
Right.
And so it helps me to come away from this physical grounding identity.
Right. No, interesting. And my last question, Radha, is how do you recognize it? I've got many answers on this. People talk about a light. People mostly tell me you'll know it. So the last time I was with Shivani Behan, we were talking about this, about various things, and I asked her, "Is there an aha moment?" And she said, "No, there is none." So I said, "Okay." So one is confused as to how do you recognize this state, or
I think it's actually simpler than we think, in the sense that, yes, it's true, you do know, because it's like, if you were to say, well, what's peace? You know, everyone recognizes a peaceful moment. And so they may not consciously say, oh, this is a peaceful moment. But actually, if you were to say, okay, in the last, I don't know, half hour, what was the peaceful moment for you, if there was one? Or when was the last peaceful moment? And so it's like we recognize peace, which means we recognize the vibrations of peace, the energy of peace. For me, how I know when I'm there, shall we say, is when I feel a lightness. And so it's like a physically, even like weight, light weight. And so it's like I feel, it's like having a body that is kind of there but not there. And my eyes are open, but the things around me, it's like they are in the background. So I'm not seeing anything really, but I can choose, I can see as soon as I have the thought, okay, I want to see, I want to move, I want to, do something. Um, and what happens with the mind and the intellect, it's like they become completely aligned with each other. So the focus, the concentration is absolute. And it's like holding. So it's like I'm being held in a state of peace, in a state of concentration. So the mind is not moving, wandering, very, very few thoughts, and just that feeling of being. I don't know how else to describe it, but
no, it's very nice. No, and I get a
yes,
perspective. No, thank you.
thank you. So maybe we can experiment with that experience that for ourselves now, and
Radha, I
have
had a quick
yes,
question.
yes, please.
Just on the meditation itself, actually,
Mm.
because you mentioned about having your eyes open. Is it something you typically recommend doing with eyes open, or is it okay to do it with the eyes closed?
So I would recommend being able to do it with the eyes open. So even if you prefer doing it with the eyes closed, that's okay. But to teach yourself to meditate also with eyes open, because it's practically very useful. Also because then you could meditate anywhere. and especially in places where maybe, you don't want to have your eyes closed. There are some places out and about where you want to keep your eyes open. Sometimes if you're walking or doing things, you need your eyes open. But other times, even if I'm just sitting, then I like to practice taking myself beyond, so that I'm checking how much are my eyes dictating what I'm thinking, how much is a noise dictating me being distracted. Am I able
Okay.
to go beyond? And so it's like, I think it's useful to be able to do both, basically.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put up the picture again, and so you can take yourself into that journey. So find a comfortable position. Take a deep breath. And visualize yourself standing on the earth in a wide open space. Seeing the movement of all the elements, the earth, water, fire, air, and ether. This amazing harmony and the dance of these elements. The earth, which has been my home, and I now realize that actually I am a guest here for a long, long time. I am an actor, and this has been my stage with all the changing scenes and scenery, the different costumes, sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes from one part of the earth, sometimes from another. The play has been a variety play, variety show. And my part has been the part of a hero. And I take a moment to remember where I've come from. One time I came onto this stage a long time ago. Where did I come from? And for a moment, with the vehicle of my mind, I journey beyond the gravitational pull of the earth. I journey beyond time and space, movement and sound. And I'm drawn like a magnet into a dimension of light. beautiful, warm, welcoming light. I am also light. And whilst I enter this dimension, I retain my individuality. I do not merge with the light. I bathe in the light. It is the light of peace. This is my element. This is my home. And I begin to vibrate with that beautiful silence, the natural quiet, and the restedness. I am, and that's enough. And it is from here that I can look at the earth and share the rays of peace, of love, of hope with all the inhabitants of the earth. From the abundance of peace in this dimension, my home, I share that with the earth. And I prepare to make that journey once again to the earth from my home. And it is a journey of a second as I find myself sitting in the center of my forehead of this costume, looking through the eyes, knowing that I can come home whenever I want with just a few thoughts. Om Shanti. Thank you. So invite you to practice that journey whenever you wish. And it's like anything. The more you do it, the more adept you get with the experience. Anything anyone would like to share or say? Just a minute.
Radha, I was wondering that later on, in your sessions, if you can cover grief, as to how, I think grief obviously stems from our attachment and, how we can cope with it, because now we are undergoing some trying times and, I'm sure, we have lost dear ones sometime or the other. As to how, we can look at it and cope with it, I think that would be nice.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Radha.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Radha. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you.
Bye.
Amrit, you want to share something?
I was saying it was very nice, and I had a good meditation. It was very nice session. Thank you very much.